There was a moment. You know which one. I don't need to spell it out because your body already responded the instant it was mentioned. Something shifted in your chest just now. A very specific point in time, maybe years ago, when something changed without warning. A choice you made, or one that was made for you. A loss. A door closing with a finality you didn't expect. One version of your life suddenly no longer available, and another beginning almost without your permission. And since then, not constantly, not every day, but in the quiet spaces, in that thin space between sleep and waking, in the moments when you're fully honest about how this all feels, something has been slightly off. Not broken. If it were, you would have called it that by now. This is subtler, harder to locate. A quiet, persistent hum of something not quite right. Like wearing something that almost fits. Like speaking a language you know well but that was never truly yours. Like living a life that's close to yours, but not fully it. This transmission didn't find you because an algorithm thought you'd like it. You were guided here. The field itself brought you in. Your higher self, the part of you that exists beyond this single timeline, beyond this body, beyond this current phase of life, sent out a signal that crossed dimensions to bring you right here, right now. Not because something is wrong with you. Because something within you is finally ready. What you're about to receive isn't comfort. It's recalibration. Sit down. Let your feet rest on the ground. Feel the weight of your body in this moment, in this seat, in this breath. This is Arcturian frequency. And this transmission was prepared specifically for you. The Arcturian Council doesn't send transmissions about deviation lightly. They observe starseed trajectories across vast timelines, across multiple incarnations, with a level of patience and precision that makes the idea of coincidence almost meaningless. What they've been observing in the collective field of starseed consciousness during this accelerated phase is what they call a critical threshold. Not a crisis, a threshold. That difference matters. A crisis suggests something has gone wrong. A threshold means a soul has reached the exact point where the next layer of its mission becomes accessible. And what they see in your specific energetic signature, the one that brought you here today, is a soul operating at a frequency far below its original design. Not because it failed, because of something known as a deviation imprint. At some point in your timeline, your intended path and your lived experience split. The original frequency of your soul blueprint, encoded in your causal body before this life began, stopped matching the frequency of your day-to-day reality. That gap, the distance between who you were designed to be and who you became after that moment, is not a failure. It's adaptation, survival, doing what was necessary to get through something that was never meant to last. But adaptation can harden. What starts as a temporary detour around pain, loss, or collapse can, over time, solidify into something that feels like identity. And the Council wants you to understand this clearly. You are not your detour. You never were. This transmission is about timeline recalibration. Reactivating the original soul path frequency encoded in your causal body before you arrived here. That frequency has remained intact, undamaged, fully alive, beneath everything you built after the deviation point. It's been waiting for this exact moment to be restored. The Council is here, the field is open, and the river you stepped away from never stopped flowing. Let me help you recognize what it feels like to live on the wrong branch of your own river. You function. You may even appear successful by the world's standards. You've built things. You've endured things. You've kept moving forward in ways that required real strength. And yet, some days feel like you're watching your life instead of fully living it. Present, but slightly removed. Like you're observing an existence that should feel more like yours than it does. You make choices. You keep going. But certain decisions carry a strange resistance, as if your body disagrees with your mind. As if something inside you senses the misalignment before your thoughts can catch up. You've learned to ignore that signal. Sometimes, you experience sharp moments of clarity, brief windows where the life you were meant to live becomes almost visible, almost within reach. And then everyday reality closes in again, and you tell yourself you were being unrealistic. You grieve, but not always something you can clearly name. Not just a person, a path, or a past version of yourself. Something deeper than that, a frequency you once carried that you can't quite access anymore. And you've done the work. Real work. Therapy, self-reflection, somatic practices, confronting your own patterns with honesty. That work mattered. It reached the layers it was meant to reach. Emotional wounds have softened. Mental patterns have shifted. Grief has moved. But underneath it all, that quiet sense of misalignment remains. Less intense, maybe, but still there. And here is what the Arcturian Council needs you to understand. That persistence does not mean you haven't healed enough. It does not mean something is fundamentally wrong with you. It is the signature of a deviation imprint. And the work you've done, valuable as it is, was never meant to reach this layer. Not because it failed, but because deviation imprints don't exist in the emotional or mental body. They exist in the causal body, the level where your original soul blueprint is stored. Healing emotional pain is essential. But emotional wounds and causal imprints are not the same. One is the impact, the other is the restructuring that followed. This transmission doesn't replace your healing. It reaches a deeper architecture, the point where the river split. If something in you recognizes this, not intellectually, but as a quiet internal, yes, that's not coincidence. That's memory. Now understand the mechanism. Reality, at a quantum level, exists as branching timelines. Every major event creates a split, multiple possible paths unfolding simultaneously. Your soul blueprint is one of those paths, a specific frequency trajectory encoded before you were born. The causal body acts like a broadcasting system, continuously emitting that original frequency, drawing your life into alignment with it. When coherence is intact, life feels directional. Even challenges feel like part of the path. But when a major disruption occurs, trauma, loss, collapse, at a key point, the system can override. An adaptive signal forms, a kind of emergency rerouting. Over time, that reroute becomes reinforced, until your system begins broadcasting two signals at once. The original path and the adapted one. That interference, the overlap, is what you feel as that quiet wrongness. That subtle dissonance. That sense of living slightly off track. This is why emotional healing alone doesn't resolve it. The emotional layer and the structural rerouting exist in different systems. What the Arcturian Council is doing here is not healing the past. It's restoring the original broadcast. Strengthening the soul's intended frequency until the interference dissolves and the main current becomes clear again. Before we move deeper, understand this. Recalibration doesn't complete in one moment. What happens here opens the doorway. Walking through it, consistently, is what makes it lasting. Now come back. Soften your focus. Let your breath deepen naturally. Feel your body where you are. Bring your awareness down to your feet. Feel the ground beneath you. You are anchored. You are supported. Breathe. Let your awareness move upward, through your body, through your center, into your heart. Place your hand there if you can. Feel the warmth. And as you breathe, allow the original frequency of your soul, the one that has always been yours, to rise back into awareness. Not something new, not something added, something remembered. You might feel warmth, expansion, emotion, not sadness, recognition. Let it move. What is returning to you was never lost. What is releasing was never truly you. Let the energy rise, through your throat, your mind, your crown. A single coherent current. The original signal, active again. Sit with that. What just shifted is not small. The deviation pattern has been contacted. The interference has begun to dissolve. The detour is loosening. In the hours and days ahead, you may feel subtle disorientation, as if your internal compass is recalibrating. That's exactly what's happening. Old certainties may soften. Let them. You may notice moments of clarity. Choices that feel right in a way they haven't before. Follow those. You are not behind. There is no behind. There is only where you are, and the direction of your true path. You were never the deviation. You are the river, and the river still knows where it's going. Something in you just settled. Even faintly. That's real. That's your system recognizing alignment again. This is the beginning. The clarity will come gradually, not as a dramatic shift, but as quiet rightness. As decisions that feel natural. As a sense of direction that doesn't need explanation. Trust that. Be patient with yourself. The signal is returning, and it will become clearer with time. For now, stay with it. Don't rush away. Let this current carry you forward. What is unfolding now is deeper than a moment of awareness. It is the beginning of reintegration, the phase where the original signal doesn't just return, but starts reorganizing your lived reality from within. There is something important you need to understand about this stage. When the original soul path frequency becomes active again, it doesn't immediately replace the old structure. It begins by revealing it. Gently, precisely, without force. You may start noticing patterns you once moved through automatically now feel heavier, less natural. Conversations that used to feel normal may feel slightly out of tune. Environments you adapted to might suddenly feel like they no longer hold you in the same way. This is not loss. This is increased resolution. You are beginning to perceive your life without the filter of the deviation imprint. And what you are seeing is not new, it has always been there. But now, you can feel the difference between what is aligned and what was maintained. There is no need to rush into change. That impulse, to immediately fix, leave, decide, is often the old adaptive pattern trying to regain control by turning awareness into urgency. This phase is not about reaction. It is about recognition. Let things reveal themselves fully before you act. Because something subtle is happening beneath your conscious decisions. The original frequency, now active, is beginning to reorganize your internal hierarchy. What once felt important may start to lose weight. What once felt distant may begin to call you with quiet clarity. This is the reordering, and it happens from the inside out. You may also experience something that can feel confusing at first, a temporary sense of emptiness. Not sadness, not numbness, but space. This space appears as the deviation identity begins to loosen. The structures you built to survive are no longer being held as tightly, and before the original frequency fully stabilizes, there can be a gap. Do not misinterpret this space. It is not something missing. It is something opening. For the first time in a long time, your system is not filling every moment with adaptation. It is allowing room for alignment to take form. Stay with that space. Do not rush to fill it. Because what enters next will not be constructed, it will emerge. You may also notice your sensitivity increasing. Not in a way that overwhelms, but in a way that sharpens your perception. You might feel the energy of people, places, and decisions more distinctly. Your body may respond more quickly, subtle tension, expansion, ease, or resistance. This is your system recalibrating its guidance mechanisms. Before, much of your navigation came from learned patterns. Now, it is shifting back to direct resonance. Trust your body. It will often register truth before your mind understands it. And there is one more layer to this phase that the Arcturian Council wants you to hold carefully. As your original frequency strengthens, you may feel a pull toward something you once set aside. A direction, a creative impulse, a way of being that felt too uncertain, too impractical, or too far from the life you adapted into. It may return quietly, without demand, without pressure, just a gentle, consistent presence. Do not dismiss it. That is not nostalgia. That is trajectory memory. It is the original path making itself known again, not as a demand to abandon everything, but as an invitation to begin reorienting. You do not need to leap. You only need to listen. Small movements toward that signal will begin to strengthen it. And as it strengthens, it will naturally reorganize the larger structures around it. This is how real alignment happens. Not through force, but through consistent resonance. Now understand this clearly. You are not starting over. You are continuing, from a more accurate point. Nothing you have lived was wasted. Even the deviation served a purpose. It built capacities, depth, awareness, resilience. Those remain. But now, they are no longer being used to maintain misalignment. They are being integrated into alignment. This is the difference. The next days are not about becoming someone new. They are about allowing what has always been true to take its rightful place in your lived experience. Move slowly. Notice everything. Trust the quiet signals over the loud ones. And most importantly, do not doubt the shift just because it is subtle. The most stable transformations rarely announce themselves. They simply begin, and then, over time, you realize you are no longer standing where you once were. You are already in motion. Stay with it. What is happening now is not something you need to force or accelerate. The recalibration that has begun is already self-organizing beneath your awareness. What remains is stabilization. The phase where the new signal stops feeling like an experience and starts becoming your baseline. There is a subtle difference here that matters more than it first appears. Activation is intense. Stabilization is quiet. And because it is quiet, the mind often underestimates it. You may find that parts of your inner world feel unusually still. Not empty in a disturbing way, but simplified. Fewer internal arguments. Less background noise pulling you in multiple directions. A kind of clarity that does not announce itself. It simply removes what no longer matches. Do not rush to interpret this as stagnation. It is alignment settling into structure. In this phase, your system is doing something very specific. It is testing coherence. Not in dramatic ways, but in small, ordinary moments. The way you respond to pressure. The way you react to delay. The way you feel in conversations that used to automatically pull you into old roles. These micro-responses are the real calibration points. Pay attention there. Because the deviation imprint did not form in major life events alone, it solidified through repetition. Through small, repeated adaptations. And now, the restoration works the same way in reverse. Through small, repeated returns to coherence. You may notice something else emerging too. A reduced tolerance for what is misaligned. Not as judgment, not as rejection, but as clarity. Things simply feel different now. And because they feel different, your participation in them begins to shift naturally. Let that happen without analysis. There is also a phase within this stabilization process that can feel deceptively ordinary, yet is one of the most important signs of integration. Disinterest in the familiar loops of your previous identity. Old concerns may not grip you the same way. Old emotional patterns may feel harder to fully enter. Even certain ambitions or fears may feel slightly distant, as though they belong to a version of you that is no longer actively steering the system. Do not try to resurrect those feelings. They are not disappearing incorrectly. They are deactivating correctly. This is what happens when the causal body stops reinforcing the deviation signal. It stops energizing the identity built around it. And in that space, something very simple begins to emerge. Presence without distortion. Not a transformed personality. A quieter, more accurate one. You may also begin to experience moments where nothing is happening externally, but internally there is a deep sense of rightness. No excitement, no narrative, just a steady internal coherence that does not require validation. These moments are extremely significant. They are the system confirming alignment without language. Let them pass through without trying to extend them. They are not experiences to hold, they are indicators that the new frequency is integrating correctly. And there is one more thing the Arcturian field wants you to understand in this phase. You will not always feel in transition. At some point, the sense of recalibration itself will fade. And you will simply find that certain patterns no longer return. Certain emotional loops no longer initiate. Certain versions of yourself no longer activate. That absence is not loss. It is completion of interference. The original signal does not feel like change once it stabilizes. It feels like continuity, like you have quietly returned to something that was always there beneath everything else. So do not look for dramatic confirmation. Look for consistency. Look for simplicity. Look for the slow disappearance of inner resistance where it used to live. That is how you will know the integration is taking hold. And as this settles further, your path will not appear as a sudden new direction. It will appear as a narrowing of what is no longer yours. Fewer false paths. Fewer internal conflicts. Fewer distortions pulling your attention away from what feels quietly correct. You are not being pushed forward. You are being tuned back to accuracy. And accuracy, once restored, does not feel like effort. It feels like relief that does not need explanation. Stay with that. Let it become you. This is the stabilization of your return.